This dead easy mod to install adds not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 very new and exciting new Polynesian cultures to Humankind. They're really fascinating, I think, for a lot of reasons. Firstly, they add a lot of seafaring, nature, units, exploitations, districts to the game that make it a really enjoyable experience and really flesh out some of the more bare areas of Humankind. So now let me take you through an edited look at all 5 of them and a bit of strategy along the way. We're going to start actually in reverse order. So the last culture in chronological order is the Maori from the early modern era. Their trait, Kaitiakitanga, is very interesting. All units get +2 combat strength when they're on forest or a fortified tile. You also receive a 50% reduction to reforestation industry costs. A little bit odd. Their Emblematic Quarter, which I'll show you in a bit, is insane though. The pa, we'll cut to some gameplay for that in a minute. But you also have the Waka Taua, a naval transport that is quick to embark and fairly strong. But now I'd like to show you the pa because that's where they really shine. And here we have the Maori pa. Now the Maori pa is the most powerful district by far, okay? Let me tell you exactly what it does so that you can really understand it. So here it is, I'm selecting it in this city. You can see I can place it anywhere. It works like a hamlet and a garrison and a natural wonder combined. It combines all of their best features into one. What does that mean? Well, firstly, you can place it anywhere, as I say, like a garrison or a hamlet. It does not need to be built adjacent to the existing districts in a city. But it also functions like a hamlet and like a wonder in the fact that it will exploit adjacent tiles. So take a look at this, for example. You can see if I build it here, it's going to receive +7 food and +10 industry, like a hamlet would if I were to build it here, by exploiting the food and industry from these tiles around it. Okay, you can see that all of these tiles, these adjacent 6, start to produce yields. It's also, of course, providing me with 8 influence and 4 faith from the previous abilities and different things that I've picked up on my empire, like pursuing liberty, which is giving me more influence from my districts. You can see +5 stability and influence as well. All of the different cultures combine together to make an absolutely outstanding district from the Maori pa. Here it is built, right? You can see it's providing a whole load of different yields into the city. Look at all of those effects down in the left corner of your screen here. It's also an effective garrison as well, so I can click this little button to make it my land unit spawn. It's just incredible. It's so strong. It's so unbelievably powerful. Seriously, I cannot recommend that you build this Maori pa enough. It is just such an incredible district. And of course, it also combos really well with all of these islands, because if you're playing these cultures, you're probably playing a map with a few islands, and you'll know that building a hamlet on these islands then allows you to build adjacent to it. So take a look. These 2 tiles here, I can't build a normal district on these because I'm not connected to them, like I would be if I had an administrative center, an outpost, or a city. However, the hamlet, or in this case the Maori pa, will allow me to build on them. Next, Rapa Nui, the alternative extra culture to the Tahitians, are an aesthete culture, and their spirits of the ancestors ability really scales over time dramatically, +1 influence per era on all emblematic districts from all eras, and +1 faith per era on all emblematic districts from all eras. The Maui, of course, feeds into this even more, providing not only a good amount of influence and faith, but a lot from coastal waters and lakes, and they have a nice little javelin thrower here too, which gains influence from successful ransacks. A nice combination that Rapa Nui has, and a nice aesthete culture as well to pick up, really supported well off the fact that you're already coming through from likely a Samoan play where you've built up a good amount of influence already. You should be able to get those stars pretty easily. One of the slightly more underrated abilities of the Rapa Nui, particularly of their district here, is you can see it's actually placed like a garrison, right? So you don't need to build it directly adjacent. So even though it's providing faith and influence, and maybe the faith isn't so interesting to you, it should be, because your religion is very important for building up these coastal tiles. You want to get +5 food from harbour, you want to get +2 food on your coastal tiles. So actually the faith game is a very important one here. But what's even better about this district, of course, is because you're playing coastal peoples, you're playing on coastal islands and territories, you can really get some power out of it. Take a look at that. Plus 20, plus 12. That is a good district because we can build it anywhere we want and out around a whole load of coastal tiles. A very powerful district that you shouldn't sleep on, even if you're not so interested in its faith yield. I really think it pays dividends over the course of the game, especially, of course, if you can combo it with some of those interesting wonders as well, right? If you can get your hands on Angkor Wat, for example, and get +1 food per faith, you'll really be running away laughing. The alternative option in the medieval era are the Tahitians, the people from Tahiti. They are a scientific culture, and man, their trait is good. +5 science per number of territories under your sphere of influence, which you should already have good control of if you've played as Samoa previously. They also give you a whole load of naval, movement, and vision range, +3 to your movement, +2 to your range. We'll talk more about their marae later, but just take a look and really bring it in. This range and movement is incredible for your exploration. Around this period in the game, you should be seeking to explore, and your trait will so incredibly help you to do just that. You are, of course, also playing as a scientific culture as the Tahitians, so don't forget you have collective minds to take advantage on. You can really snowball your science when you combine some of these very powerful ocean discoveries too. Speaking of powerful, let's talk about their emblematic quarter, the marae. It does take out the standard minus stability penalty, but you get science, you get faith, and you get influence. How much will depend on whether you build it adjacent to the coastline, and I should note that it actually doesn't display the +1 science that you get from exploited coastal tiles very often. So do bear in mind you need to have a harbour active and you need to be exploiting those tiles, and you'll get a good district. What have we got? For culture number 2, it is the Samoans. All the world is as one family. What do? They're an expansionist, and unfortunately their in-game text is a little janky, it would be fair to say. Their trait gives us -50% influence penalty for ongoing costs of being over the city cap. Pretty interesting. We also get -50% create outpost cost, good for expansionizing, and -50% harbor, industry, or influence costs. So basically we can expand out far, quickly, and build cheap harbors. And all of that is supported by their really, really fantastic unique district. Their emblematic quarter, the Falatele, as you can see, provides a huge amount of stability and influence. Not only does it innately provide you with a little bit, but it adjacency bonuses as well, comboing off nearby districts, city centers, and so on and so forth, to provide a hell of a lot. Watch here as I place down even more of these fantastic things. And I think the real strength to them is, like many other districts, you are flexible somewhat in where you can place them. You don't need to align too much with natural resources, for example, but crucially, they fuel your expansionism, right? You build cheap outposts, you explore the world like crazy, and you have influence for days. And last but not least, in the ancient era, so it's probably where you'll be starting off if you get lucky, it's the Lapitans. They are a very interesting agrarian culture, the only agrarian in this mix. Nice to start as an agrarian too. Their trait mana provides +1 food from the following: coastal water, lakes, woodland, and forest. So a good mixture of both coast and land tiles. It's their pile dwelling that is particularly interesting, but also actually their canoe allows you to embark at an insanely early period as well that really only the Babylonians could try and keep up with. So let's talk a little bit more about the Lapitans here at the end of this video. They're a spicy one. And actually, really, the pile dwelling is a great place to start. So you can see it innately provides +3 money. It counts as a market quarter and a farmer's quarter, and goes on to provide +2 money per adjacent market quarter, and +2 food per adjacent farmers. But take a look at these yields. This is where it really shines. I mean, you can build this immediately in a brand new city. +15 food from exploiting all those coastal tiles, and some innate money bonus. You can see it's better than my farmer's quarter. It's better than my maker's quarter. And honestly, at twice the price of a pottery barn, it really makes sense to almost build it first, depending on what you want to go. It's a really close call, a very powerful district to exploit the coastlines before you even have harbours unlocked. However, of course, don't sleep on unlocking sailing, because this is essentially where your unique unit is buried. It will allow you to embark earlier, faster, and better than you would normally have to wait to do to get through to trade expeditions in the classical era. As the Lapitans, you can do it in the ancient era, and that is what sets them apart. It will set you up well for future expansion as the Samoa, Samoans, perhaps even moving all the way through into the Maori. This is a wonderful mod. Seriously, the best culture mod I've played so far. 5 interesting naval cultures. I can't recommend it highly enough.